This episode is brought to you by Propel. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use Propel Auth. Propel Auth is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, Propel Auth adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with Propel Auth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. Listen, guys, I don't know about you, but I get real tired of managing the spam and cold outreach to my contact info. Those annoying emails, phone calls from unknown numbers, wasting our time and valuable attention. Not to mention the bad stuff from data breaches, which are rising every year. To top it off, data brokers out there harvest our information and sell it to people who intend to spam you and scam you. So what do we do about it? Well, I use Incogni. I signed up to use the platform, and within 30 minutes, hundreds of requests have been sent and completed, removing my data from the public view. Incogni tracks down and removes your personal data from online directories, people search sites, and commercial databases. The process is fully automated for the hundreds of known data brokers who sell our data without consent. Got a site that they don't auto-hit? No problem. There's a custom removal feature to take down almost everything that is exposed online. So take it from me and take back your personal data with Incogni. Go to incogni.com/codestory and use code CODESTORY at checkout to get 60% off annual plans. You can also find the link in the episode description. That's incogni.com/codestory, because they can't harm you if they can't find you. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more MOR with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is sponsored by Code Crafters. As an engineer myself, I know that the best way to learn how to code is to build something new. But sometimes it's hard to come up with project ideas as well as find a community of folks on the same learning path. That's where Code Crafters comes in. With Code Crafters, you can build something that actually stimulates your mind while strengthening your engineering fundamentals. And you can do so by using your favorite IDE or tools to code and build your own Git, Redis, or HTTP server in the language of your choice. Languages like Rust, C++, or Go. Code Crafters is designed to optimize your learning experience as it's designed for productivity. Sign up today and become a better, more confident programmer. Visit codestory.co/codecrafters. That's CODECRAFTERS to get started and get 40% off your upgrade. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is sponsored by NordProtect. In a world where data breaches are on the rise and identity theft is becoming more common, you have to take steps to protect yourself. NordProtect offers you everything you need to keep your identity safe, all in one easy place. It's built to help you safeguard your identity with advanced automation that works 24/7 on your behalf. Things like dark web monitoring, credit monitoring, security alerts, and more. And if the worst should occur, the platform walks alongside you for identity restoration. NordProtect plans come with financial coverage across a wide range of threats, from identity theft to online fraud and scams, so you are covered when it matters most. Get an exclusive 5% discount on NordProtect plans. Go to nordprotect.com/codestory and use the code CODESTORY at checkout. You can also find the link in the episode notes. That's nordprotect.com/codestory.
You know, a CI/CD tool is not something you think of with warm affection in your eyes. Most times when engineers think of CI, it's like, crap, something's broken. And yet, every single one of my customers, all of them had this twinkle in their eye and this, they'd speak of it with such affection that I got very envious, to the point where one of my customers at the time, they said they're working on a bunch of things, and one of the things they briefly mentioned was a jingle. And I was like, wait, hold up. They said, there's this tool we really like that we want to evangelize internally at the company. And I was like, wait, hold on, what is this tool? And can I see this jingle? And what do you know? The tool was Buildkite, and the jingle was entirely made by the customer. My name is Spriha Baruah Tucker, and I'm the field CTO here at Buildkite.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do next.
Took many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve more. Most proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took
you.
it off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Spriha Baruah Tucker is enabling you to deliver like the world's leading companies and move into scale-out delivery. Spriha Baruah Tucker has spent time in a number of places, growing up in India, attending boarding school in Singapore, and now living in San Francisco. She spent many years at Google before founding her own startup called Aviator. Outside of tech, she really likes music, having a soft spot in her heart for Bollywood, but really digging into the jazz world these days. She enjoys the guilty pleasure of trashy romance TV and tends to travel to get the best food, her favorite being Nashville. Spriha was a founder at Aviator and was made aware of the company she's at now while serving her customers. She noticed that all of her customers who used this platform absolutely adored it, to the tune of making infomercials for said platform. She reached out to the founder to let him know, and the rest is history. This is Spriha's creation story at Buildkite.
Buildkite feels like Silicon Valley's best kept secret, but it really is, at its core, we are the world's most powerful CI/CD platform. So most of the apps you use on your phone, most of the largest, the most popular websites you use on your computer, under the hood, every single code change from every single engineer in those companies has gone through Buildkite. Post the code being actually written by humans, there's a bunch of work that needs to be done for that code to actually be usable by the end user. So primarily 3 things. First thing, building. So, converting the code from something that's somewhat human readable into something that the machine can actually run, and then testing it for properties you want it to have. You want to make sure you can log in and the features that you want shipped are shipped and that sort of thing, and it's performant, all of those things. And then deploying. Once you've tested the thing and all right, this is the golden copy, actually putting copies of those things on your servers. And so Buildkite under the hood powers all of this. So I actually first heard of Buildkite through my customers at Aviator, which was the company I'd co-founded before this. So Aviator focused on large code bases. And so tautologically speaking, our customers were large code base customers. DoorDash is a customer, Figma and Square and a bunch of folks. Every single one of them all used Buildkite for their CI. And, I had heard of Jenkins and GitHub Actions and stuff like that. And at Google internally, we had our own tools that we'd use. And so we didn't use, for scale purposes, we didn't really look outside. But turns out the rest of the industry, when you need a really reliable and a very fast and powerful CI tool, the standard was Buildkite. And I had no idea of this until Aviator. I was surprised at just how often 2 things happened. Thing number 1, how often Buildkite was mentioned by the customer base I was specifically targeting. And 2, and this was the more surprising thing, just how beloved the tool was. A CI/CD tool is not something you think of with warm affection in your eyes, generally speaking. Most times when engineers think of CI, it's like, crap, something's broken. What do I need to go fix? And yet, every single one of my customers, and granted, my customers were, platform engineering folks and folks who like tooling and who like thinking about systems, the engineer folks. All of them had this twinkle in their eye and this, they'd speak of it with such affection that I got very envious, to the point where one of my customers at the time, I remember asking them about what they were working on. And they said they're working on a bunch of things. And one of the things they briefly mentioned was a jingle. And I was like, wait, hold up. You're working on all these, these migrations, these big infra projects and stuff, and a jingle? They said, yeah, there's this tool we really like that we want to evangelize internally at the company because we want the rest of our engineering team to get on board. And so we're sort of making this infomercial jingle thing just to make sure that the rest of the company knows what we like about it. And I was like, wait, hold on, what is this tool? And can I see this jingle? And what do you know? The tool was Buildkite, and the jingle was entirely made by the customer. It talked about all the different ways you could use it, how cool it was, and how much better it was than their current system, and all the the time it would save. Basically, all the reliability. It's a whole bunch of stuff. This was entirely customer driven. So I asked them, I was like, does Buildkite know about this? They're like, no. This is, this is an internal thing, really. It wouldn't even make sense. I was like, what? This is incredible. I'd never see infrastructure engineers out there making infomercials and jingles about it. There must be something really special. And so I pinged the Buildkite founder. I was like, hey, Buildkite founder, from a fellow founder, your customers love your product. And also, do you know they're making jingles about it? Here it is. He was like, wow, this is incredible. I will let my team know. And also, how the hell do you know so much about our customers? And so that's how I got introduced to Buildkite.
So you've been at Buildkite for a couple of years. I typically ask a question about, the MVP of the product, right? What was your MVP at Buildkite? When you joined the company, what was your, maybe starting project, original starting point, where you were set out to go do? Tell me about what that was for you and what sort of tools you were using to make it happen.
My path to Buildkite was relatively unique in the sense that there wasn't a role open that they were looking to hire for to fill or anything. It was specifically this blind spot that kept coming up to the founder. Like you kept realizing that I knew more about his customers' technical context and how they used his products than he did. The first big value add here was really just letting our engineering team know how our customer base used our products and what technical context they used us in and what they really thought of it. What were the problems under which made them think of Buildkite and what they thought they could do with the tool? Because we offer a core set of primitives. So a lot of customers come to us initially for CI, but because the system is actually what I think very elegantly designed. Once you understand the components of the system, you realize, hey, you could do a lot of things with these primitives that are not just CI. So, we have customers that use us to run scheduled jobs that auto upgrade packages. We have customers that use us as a backend for their AI agents. Really, we've got customers that use us for all sorts of for dependency map, for warming up their environments, for setting up local developer machines, like a lot of different things. But basically, just bridging the technical gap between our customers' technical context and our engineering team itself turned out to be a really big value add. And so that was my first big MVP project.
So with that, let's stay on that for a minute. I'm curious about, a decision or trade-off you had to make in the very beginning of how you were going to approach that, right? And it could be, a limitation of scope maybe, or limitation of how you approached it, or a certain segmentation or something like that, how you went about it and how you coped with that decision.
With a product like Buildkite, I quickly realized there's a fundamental dilemma that we'll always wrestle with. The dilemma being, we've got these very powerful primitives and we've got these very powerful Lego blocks that you can put together to form these beautiful Lego sets, that can do various things. In other words, you can use Buildkite, like I said, to do a lot of different things. And our most sophisticated users and most sophisticated customers realize this. There are some customers who just want the raw Lego blocks. They just want the bag of Legos just dumped onto the table and they'll go figure out what they want to build. But turns out most customers, when they're starting out, actually do want a curated Lego set where we're like, here you go, here's the set of pieces you'll need to build this specific thing that happens to be useful to you. And that thing is usually CI or CD, or a very concrete problem that they're trying to solve. The reason I say this is a dilemma at the heart of a company like this is because the product decisions you make, the customers you go after, the problems you go after, and the way you message things out sort of relies on you having figured out your customer persona. And we had figured out a lot of our persona, but we realized there's this dichotomy. Like we had two buckets that both found us very, very useful. And so basically the big decision I initially had to make was what sort of customer, like I've got limited time, so how do I split it between, what type of customers do I go after while getting the state of the union, so to speak. But then obviously the right answer was you don't want a sampling bias. So go and talk to a lot of different people and get a variety of different perspectives, put it on the table so that then we as a company can make a call on what types of customers to go after and what types of products to ship and that sort of thing.
This episode is brought to you by Vention, the engineering partner you need after the MVP launch. So you built fast with Lovable. You shipped your MVP, impressed investors, and maybe even landed your first users. Now comes the hard part. Vention's AI discovery workshops are built for teams who have moved fast and now need to figure out what's actually worth scaling. Led by senior engineers and an in-house CTO, the workshop helps you pressure test your use case, catch gaps early, and build a roadmap your team can actually deliver on, with the kind of engineering support that brings peace of mind, not second guessing. Lovable got you live. Vention gets you ready to scale. Go to ventionteams.com or book your AI workshop now at ventionteams.com/codestory and go from idea to impact faster. That's ventionteams.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Fullscale. Let me guess, your team's shipping sprint velocity looks good, but you're still asking yourself, is anyone actually thinking about the why? Matt Watson's been there. He's the founder behind Vin Solutions and Stackify and now runs Fullscale with a 300-plus person dev team. And after 2 decades in the trenches, he's seen the same pattern over and over. Smart developers stuck in systems that reward ticket-taking instead of real thinking. That's why he wrote Product Driven, a playbook for tech leaders who are done babysitting developers and ready to build teams that own the outcome. If you're tired of translating every feature, doing all the thinking, or wondering why your smart team is still stuck, this is the fix. Go to productdriven.com/codestory. to grab the book and get the bonus toolkit to help your team shift from output to outcomes, like 12 bold ways to get your retros out of robot mode. Again, that's productdriven.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by MailySearch. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need MailySearch. MailySearch is lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. MailySearch utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, MailySearch delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to MailySearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more, MOR, and DIY less. With Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. That's actually a perfect segue into my next question then. So you've done that, right? You've gone and talked to all the different types of customers so you can make a call about the direction. How did you go about that process, right, of making that call? And, I would liken that to asking kind of like a roadmap question, but more like, how did you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to do or to address?
So we realized there's basically these problems were they were not as much of a dichotomy as we first thought. They were more of a gradual ramp. There was just some customers were earlier in the journey than others. That was sort of the key to unlocking our roadmap. So we realized that we've got some customers that are on the tippy top, pointy end of the spear, and they're running into all these problems, and they're asking us for features that are way on the cutting edge. And even today we see that, customers that are using AI bots to do things in the background, that to auto-generate tests, to do a bunch of different things. Their feature requests are very different than customers that are early on in their journey and that are setting up CI for the first time. But once you realize that it's really a continuum, and it's not that they're very different customers, they're really just at different points on the same journey, this insight unlocks, and the insight being, you can actually take lessons learned from the pointy end and educate and sort of point out the roadblocks that are coming up to the rest of your customer base. Because you're now able to start seeing patterns. You're like, okay, this company's also on a giant monorepo. This is their mobile team that's also on a giant monorepo. Okay, interesting. This other company that was on a giant monorepo a year ago ran into these issues, and this other company now seems to have a very similar shake. Guess what? We can now actively start helping our customers through not just the current Lego set that they have, but showing them that, hey, these other problems that you're running into, our other customers have run into similar things, and this is how they've solved them. And these are the features that you'll need, and these are the tools that are at your disposal, and these are the frameworks and the principles that help you think through things. You're not the first person to have to solve this problem, and so here you go. Turns out the software engineering world is a very collaborative world, and our industry, software engineers, are among the most collaborative of professions. Like, the first things we do as engineers when we run into a problem is usually see how other people have already tried to approach it. Like, we don't assume that we're the first ones to ever have run into things. And so that's turned out to be a key insight, like realizing that our customers are not a dichotomy, they're just on a continuum.
That's cool. I appreciate you calling out too that we're a collaborative bunch, because that's totally true.
Yeah, we're way more collaborative than most other professions, and this isn't apparent until you start talking to other professions and you realize, oh, it's not as common to, like, immediately the minute you hit a roadblock to just go and like see how others have done it, and there's an open source solution to the problem, or there's a big discussion on how XYZ other company solved it, or like there's a Reddit discussion, or there's a Hacker News discussion, or whatever. We're a particularly collaborative bunch, despite a lot of go-to-market folks thinking we're all introverts that don't want to talk. We do want to talk. It's just about specific things.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, Spriha, I'm curious about team. Are you flying solo in this, or are you running a team?
We are definitely part of a team here at Buildkite. We have our core product engineering. Most of them are in Australia, and they've got incredible taste. They build the right primitives. They've got a good knack for figuring out abstraction layers. It's partly why our product is so beloved and can be used in such a variety of environments. But because it can be used in a variety of environments, we also need a field team. And what the field team does is ensures that our product works in our customers' technical context. Because turns out, while we're a collaborative bunch of software engineers, we also want to make sure that solutions we're looking out for work in our specific technical context. It's partly, at this point, you can take it for granted that when a product says it does a thing, it's likely going to do the thing. There's no reason to really doubt that things won't do what they say they do on the label. The hesitation comes when you wonder whether, despite it saying it does things on the label, whether it'll work for you. And that is a very common problem in our industry. Just ensuring that these tools work for your environment, for the kinds of problems you're facing, and for the kinds of internal customers that you're trying to solve. So that's where our field engineering team comes in. We've got a lot of folks. We've got technical account managers that ensure that our customers are, once they're customers, that the post sales, once they're customers, that they're engaged and they're happy. These are very smart technical folks. We've got solutions architects who are very good at solutioning, at ensuring that Buildkite fits the shape that you need it to fit. We've got a very competent support team. In fact, a lot of our customers are very appreciative of our support just as much as they are of our product. We've got plugins and partnerships world where, Buildkite, we don't live in a vacuum. We work with a lot of different tooling. Again, like I said, to ensure that that we work well in the context that our customer lives in and the technical context our customer lives in. So we've got the plugins world. In fact, I think, well, to your listeners, if they're open source contributors, I would encourage you to go, if you're running an open source project or you've got a favorite open source project, send them my way or ping me. I'm at Spriha@buildkite.com. And I'd love to talk about how we can help you with CI. Our most used open source projects use Buildkite. So again, we've got an ecosystem sort of layer to that. So Bazel, for instance, Google's open source build system. Again, Bazel, the build system, is used by a lot of our customer teams. A lot of the world's largest code bases now, turns out, run on Bazel. But Bazel, the open source project itself, uses Buildkite for CI. And we've got a lot of really sharp engineers at other companies that have discovered us through Bazel. And so one thing we've been thinking about is how we can help open source project, but B, how we can get the kinds of engineers we want discovering us better. And so open source fits very nicely into there. We've got strategic partnerships with other technical tools. Turns out there's, like when you're a glue product like CI, so CI is often the tool that triggers a lot of other processes. There's a lot of technical synergies you can bring to the fore when you've got good partnerships with other technical tools. There's competition that we sort of keep an eye on. There's just market trends. And then there's, of course, keeping up with what our customers' upcoming roadmaps are and their leadership. Ensuring that they see the potential that Buildkite has to help them essentially win at their markets, and helping them see that that engineering platform can be a strategic place to invest in as a company for their goals.
This episode is sponsored by Search. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need Search. Search has lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. Search utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, Search delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to melisearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When off is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelOff. Check them out at propeloff.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. Okay, so as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, executed on, and shared at Buildkite, what are you most proud of?
The people. It's always the people. We have an incredible team here at Buildkite. The energy, the care, the craftsmanship that they care about, it really does come through in the product too. So one of our very prominent customers, a very large AI lab that we all use their products every day, they call us the Apple of CI, primarily because they've noticed how much care and attention has gone into, and empathy really has gone into to building the product. And that doesn't come from just people looking at their job as a 9-to-5 that they just need to put in. It comes from people actually caring. We've got an incredibly good team who cares a lot about the work that they do, the craft, and the product that they ship. And I thoroughly enjoy working with a lot of people here. if you're listening to this and wondering whether Buildkite's a good place to work, you should definitely come chat with me. Every company's got its warts and everything, but all in all, it's a very good crowd, and I'm very honored to be able to work with them.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
Early on, my first few days here at Buildkite, I'm chatting with like the CTO of a public company that's considering, that's very strongly considering using Buildkite. And they want to know why Buildkite. And I didn't come in with my empathy ears on. I came in with, this is what I'm excited about Buildkite. All my enthusiasm about why I was personally excited about Buildkite was what I was eager to talk about. And so I told him everything about how powerful it was and how scalable it was and all the various things you could do with it and all these Lego blocks and how, you just need to learn the basic primitives and you can do all this stuff. Turns out that was the absolute wrong thing. This was a customer who was completely on the other end. What they wanted was hand-holding and ease of use and just not having to worry about it. Like, they didn't see engineering platform tooling as a strategic investment at a company level. They saw it as as a necessary evil that they sort of had to deal with. And I was completely blind to that. I just came in with my context being Aviator's customers who all loved Buildkite. And it so happened that sample of customers that I'd previously talked to that really liked Buildkite was a very biased sample. And they all were very, very excited about all the many things you could do with this dump of Lego blocks, just heap of Lego blocks just dumped on your table. But this other customer was a customer this other prospect really, was a prospect that turns out actively did not want a lot of configurability, actively did not want to have a lot of control. It turns out we have very good solutions for that. We have a whole abstraction layer on top of it. We've got migration services. We've got all sorts of things to help you get started such that you can set and forget and not have to worry about it. But, 6 days into the job, and here I was thinking I had everything figured out. I went and I basically tanked that whole sale, and it was a very large deal. And I personally felt terrible about it. After that, it took me a month before I agreed to be on prospect calls. I was happy to talk to existing customers, do all of that. I was like, I need some time to learn and recover and like really just absorb. So it was a lesson in humility for sure.
Okay, let's move forward then. This will be exciting. What does the future look like for Buildkite? I know you've got some perspectives on a lot of different things, and we've talked to about AI developer tools and all those things. What does the future look like? What does the industry look like? Tell me all the things.
So one of the joys of my role here is I get to see how the world's most leading, the cutting edge software engineering teams are doing things, and also how the trends and patterns that are emerging across our customer base. And I get a pretty early preview of this, mainly because, we're right in there with them. I'm starting to see a few things emerge. Just this year, we've seen a big spike in sheer number of pull requests. So just amount of code generated that goes through CIs. And that's directly attributable to your AI bots, your Claude Code and Codex and SourceGraph AMP and whatever else, like all your AI code Goose from Square. Like there's a lot of AI engineering tooling out there that has made it incredibly easy to generate code. That has now had a very significant downstream knockoff effect on the rest of the developer loop. What I'm seeing is companies that previously did not have to worry about scaling concerns. So 30-person engineering teams are now coming to us with feature requests that previously 30,000-person engineering teams had. Why? Because they have this army of AI agents now at their disposal. And so they're running into engineering scaling challenges of a much larger company. Large companies and large code bases are running into similar challenges. Like the order of magnitude at which code is being generated has just, is increased by, at least 2 orders of magnitude just in the past year, because it's especially for smaller companies. For larger companies, it's sort of, I'd say, like 1-ish order of magnitude that things have increased in. But we're basically seeing a huge increase in amount of code that's being generated. What that means is that now there's a bunch of code that needs to be tested and pruned, and you sort of need confidence in the code that you're actually pumping into your code base. I think this is where the future of CI lies, in sort of defining confidence SLOs. Previously CI was sort of a Boolean, did your build pass or not? Have your tests passed or not? Maybe you've got some flaky tests here and there that you sort of treat as a not a red or a green, but as a yellow, so to speak. But those were sort of the discrete buckets that you would put things in. Increasingly, I think those discrete buckets are becoming more continuous, in a sense that I think the future of CI is not just a Boolean yes or no, it's a risk knob that you sort of dial up or down depending on what you're trying to do. So if you're just trying to like quickly test a feature, you ideally want your feedback really quickly. You want to give feedback to the AI agent at the speed at which it is able to generate code. You don't want testing to be the big bottleneck, as much as you can, possible anyway. And by the way, having tests not be the bottleneck for AI agents also means the tests will increasingly be less of a bottleneck for humans. So building a system that's way faster and way more responsive to AI agents is just better even for the engineer's experience. But it's existential when you're running all these bots. So ensuring that we can give you results as quickly as possible for the risk that you're willing to take at any given moment. So if you're just trying to test a quick feature locally and you don't really, this is not something you're about to deploy right off the bat, you want the test that's most likely to fail to run first so that you can get your feedback quickly. You just know whether your thing's passed or failed. But on the other hand, if you're about to deploy this thing out to military equipment and you only get to do the deploy like once a year or something like that, you really want to run every single test. And so that risk knob, you want to dial way down, and you're okay with the cost of compute, and you're okay with the time, and you're okay with the cost of testing because this thing needs to be much more bulletproof than your innermost loop of the developer or your AI agent just writing code and getting that stuff tested out. And so if you think of these two as the extremes of the knob that you can dial up or down, I think CI is increasingly going to be a confidence knob that you can sort of, that you can, like I said, dial up or down. And the amount of risk you take is commensurate to the types of tests you run and how long you want to run them for, how much time and money you want to spend per PR. I think adding a risk score to a given PR, the files that have been touched, the coupling, how critical of a system it is that's touching, all of these things can help you score code changes that then route your PR into like a fast green lane or a deep lane, or like a medium sort of like you need a human code review. You need a human to come in and like sign off on this or whatever. But basically, treating CI more as a risk function than just a Boolean pass fail, I think is basically the future of it. And there's a lot of interesting things to be built here. You can put LLMs as a triage bots within the loop, so you can get AI agents to do a lot of things for you to help manage this risk, but it's important to start seeing these things as a risk continuum. And so you can have like flaky scoring and like quarantining and like supply chains, like making sure there's review gates for various types of attributes about the software that you're pumping into your code base. Attestation stuff, just predictive test selection, impact, the blast radius of a given code change, just confidence. Internally we have these metrics that we call giving the human developer the fastest time to an actionable insight. We've been thinking about that quite a lot. But a newer thing that I've been thinking about is sort of just time to confidence, at any given action, given any action you're about to take. If you're trying to get validation for a code change, how much confidence do you need and how fast can we give you that confidence in? Versus if you're about to merge it to the main code base, versus if you're about to deploy it, versus if you're rolling things back. Like CI doesn't just end at merge, it ends with confidence. So, if the confidence comes after you deploy and you still monitor things and you need little agents to monitor things and to issue small changes, that's the future then. But I really think it's a very, very exciting time for our industry, specifically because we're going through such a big change, and there's a lot of fundamental thinking that is now being questioned because of the rate at which code is being generated, and the fact that human beings ultimately just won't be able to keep up with with the sheer amount of code. And we're already starting to see signs of that.
That's fascinating. I hadn't thought about it from that angle, making the CI/CD more of a risk-based approach. And I can imagine you could turn that knob based on, either the part of the system you're building or the phase of, if you're in a startup and you're trying to build prototypes, like you're willing to risk it. But if you got an established product, you probably won't. That's a fascinating approach.
I mean, it always has been. We've just not so I was chatting with Elizabeth Hendrickson, who's been in the industry for like 20 plus years. She's written books and everything on it. And she was talking about how testing has always been a sampling problem. And so it's always just been risk that you're taking, but we've treated it like a Boolean, like, your thing's good to go and your thing's not good to go. But really, it's always under the hood. It's always been a risk problem. Like, I've been thinking about it as a risk knob. And this is when we were talking about this stuff. And then she was like, oh yeah, I've been, back in the day when we were looking at how testing should be done. And the industry's gone through multiple changes about how to look at tests. But fundamentally, it's always been about risk.
Absolutely. That's super cool. Okay, Spriha, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
There's a few buckets of work. One, there's ideas and thought. Two, there's practical tools and sort of workflows. And the three, there's sort of the softer stuff, how to work with people that I like working with. Bucket number one, which is ideas. Ideas, they come from everywhere. Fortunately, I've had the privilege of being able to see a wide variety of organizations, and you really can see the difference in engineering cultures and how people approach engineering ideas across the industry. Like, even if they're building the same product, like sometimes, self-driving car company A and self-driving car company B they're basically building the same thing, but they look at engineering tooling completely differently, and you get very interesting ideas from different ways of looking at engineering. So ideas come from our customers. Ideas come from just people who've thought things through from a first principles level often. Folks like this risk thing that I was talking about. Things that people who look at engineering systems and who've thought deeply about those things. And then there's just fun problems that we run into that again creates a bunch of ideas in my head and in my colleagues' head and like our team. So ideas come from team, influential people that I look up to, and then our customers. Then there's the second bucket, which is processes and tools and workflows and practical things like that. That comes usually from just looking at people who I'm just like, what? How did that happen? Like, how do they manage? How do they seem to be all over Slack and always, always up to date with everything? Like, this looks a little superhuman. How are they doing it? And then just straight up talking to these people and asking them how they do things. Also keeping up with things on the latest tooling and just cool ways of doing things at the places like Product Hunt that you can keep up with on like just new stuff that people are building. And my entrepreneur community. So I've done Y Combinator like twice, but I still like going to demo days just to, A, to support future batches, but B, to also just see new and better ways of doing things. Like see what the cutting edge of just tooling looks like, really. So that's good. And then, other executives in the industry, seeing what's worked for them and that sort of thing too. So there's a bunch of process and practical knowledge that I get from there. And then lastly, it's the soft people stuff. This is really, it's observational. I love seeing great people at work, especially in environments where they become great, Like, you can have a great person put in a you can have a beautiful plant and put it in soil with terrible pH and it's not going to grow. But if you put it in the right soil with the right pH and the right everything, you can really blossom. So seeing people really thrive in environments that are well suited to them, I really enjoy that. And then trying to figure out what environments I thrive best in. And that's a continuous honing process for me, just figuring out, what are the kinds of people I work best with, and what are the ideas that seem to, what am I naturally drawn towards? What is the grain of the wood here that I'm cut from? That's sort of an observational thing externally, but also a more reflective, a discovery mechanism, I'd say.
Last question, Spriha. So you've gone down this road a bit with Aviator, and now you are spreading the love with Buildkite. I'm curious. You're getting on a plane. You're sitting next to that entrepreneur. They're jazzed about what they've built. They can't wait to show it off to the world and to you on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit in several different facets?
There's practical startup advice, and then there's like keeping the fire going advice, both of which are equally important, I think. The big advice I'd say is enthusiasm and energy they're actually perishable. So don't take those things for granted and keep an eye on your own enthusiasm and energy levels. And then there's always going to be days, especially startup life, there's always going to be days where you sort of question a lot of stuff. So start figuring out what really inspires you, things that you'd love doing, that you do, that just make you happy anyway, that you're proud to make you happy. Figure yourself out a little bit, because it'll pay massive dividends when it comes to tenacity and startup stuff. Oftentimes, tenacity is really just the big determinant for whether a startup makes it or not. But yeah, that's sort of the recognizing that energy and enthusiasm are actually perishable, both in you and in other people. And this is why it's important to strike when the iron's hot. It's important to follow the directions that you feel energetic in. So that's one. But more practically speaking, I'd ask them about, okay, great, thanks for showing me the product, but list out the most important things that you need to de-risk now. And oftentimes it's not the technical aspects of it. It's not, can this product be built? Many times that the product can be built, but the real thing to de-risk is, the product market fit. Do your customers understand what you're building? Or, is there really a need for this? And can you get to them when they have a need for this? And, if you're a startup and you're building developer tools, especially for the enterprise, why should an enterprise buy from a no-name startup like we were back in the day? You need very, very compelling reasons for your product to exist and for your product to be successful. And at any given point, I think it's very important to know the one or two things that are most important to de-risk, after which everything else can come. Because especially as a startup, you don't have unlimited budget, you don't have unlimited people, you don't have unlimited energy. You've got a lot of constraints you're working under. And so those constraints force focus. And so that focus needs to be laser honed in on the highest impact things. And the highest impact things are often just de-risking the biggest things that are going to kill your startup at any given point, So at the very beginning, it's usually just product market fit type stuff. Then it's, then maybe it becomes actually technical reliability, or then maybe it becomes culture or whatever, But at any given point, there's one or two things that are very important to have de-risked. And so do you know those one or two things? And why are you not only focusing on that? is the sort of practical execution-oriented advice I give.
I think that's fantastic advice. Well, Spriha, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling your creation story at Buildkite.
Yeah, thank you.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.